Right off the bat, I'm at my girlfriend's house this week. This is why it looks different here. Anyway, I get tech products sent to me all the time by the good folks over at GearBest to review on my main channel. And I thought it would be cool to review some of these here for you guys as well. And this week, I got something kind of interesting to show you. Let's take a look at the AllCall W1. Now, I've used a whole bunch of different smartwatches. This is my current daily driver, the Amazfit Pace. I've reviewed it here on the channel before. I love this watch. And this time, I got a different kind of watch to review here for you guys. Alright, so I got the box right here. Now, before we get started, some of the criticism that smartwatches get is that they don't do enough for the asking price. They focus on health features, step counting, calorie tracking, sleep monitoring, things like that. And some people find that that's not worth the money that they cost. So the AllCall W1 goes in a different direction. It tries to do perhaps too much. This is actually a full Android device. It's technically a phone with a wrist strap. You can make phone calls on this thing, provided you stick a SIM card in it. So let's take a look here. What comes in the box. First of all, we got the watch itself here. Let's save that for later. And this is not a true unboxing because I had unboxed it before. This is the charging cable that comes with it. I was charging it before I started shooting here. And what else comes in this thing? I think the charging cable is actually in here, so that's empty right now. And here, I'm not sure what's in here. This one is empty. Now, like I said, I actually unboxed this thing a while back to play with it and everything, and clearly I didn't put everything back together, so I can't recall what else came in these little inserts here. So it says accessory here. Honestly can't recall what was in it. And this other box here says, well, this one says nothing. So I'm gonna hazard a guess and say that it didn't come with anything else that was too important, because these two here are really all you're gonna need. Like I mentioned, this is the charging cable. It has magnets here, and it connects to the back of the watch, like so. See, I think it's upside down. No, it was the right side up. There you go. So it connects like this. You can tug it to release it. Connects via. This thing's making a lot of noise. It connects via magnets here, and then you can plug the end here. Oh, you know what? That's probably what came in this thing, an actual little power brick. Which God knows where it is now. I have so many of those in my house, it's hard to keep track of where they end up. But yeah, I want to hazard a guess and say that it came with a power brick that I have since lost, apparently. But it doesn't matter because this is regular USB, so you can plug it anywhere. I'm sure you have a whole bunch of those chargers lying around like I do. Failing that, you can always plug this into your computer, which at some point you likely will want to anyway. I'll explain why. Okay, so I forgot to explain what I actually meant by that. This is effectively a fully featured Android phone, meaning if you want to put things in it, like say, emulators, ROMs, things like that, you don't have to mess around with this screen. You can plug this into your computer and navigate to the folders inside this thing to move things around, to install software that way, games, like I said, ROMs, emulators, which is far more convenient than messing around with this screen. That's what I meant. If you're going to be buying this thing to like use it as a regular smartwatch, but then you also want the novelty of being able to run, say, Super Mario World on your wristwatch, it's going to be far easier if you just connect it to the computer and then transfer files like that. So before we get into the actual watch, let's talk specs for a second, because I know you guys care about that. So the AllCall W1 has a 1.39-inch AMOLED screen, not bad, an MTK 6580 quad-core processor, clocking in at 1 gigahertz. 1 gigahertz in a watch. My first computer had 133 megahertz, the processor. Amazing. We're living the future. It's not rocking the most current version of Android. This is Android 5.1, but it is a smartwatch, so do you really need the latest Android? I don't think you do. Don't lie to me. It has 2 gigs of RAM and 16 gigs of internal storage. So 16 gigs, not bad. It has Bluetooth 4.0 and all the amenities you would expect from a smartwatch. So GPS, speedometer, you can get your messages, see the weather, check your notifications. It has Wi-Fi. It has, as I mentioned previously, look at this. This is effectively a cell phone, because you can actually put in your SIM card in here and make and receive phone calls, text messages, all that cool stuff. Your data, you can browse the web on a 1.39-inch screen, so I'm not sure why you'd want to do that. So there's two ways to bring the screen on this thing. You can press this button here and you see a nifty watch face there, or you can actually raise your wrist to wake the screen. So I'm going to try to simulate that here. There you go. And it's on now. As you can see, there is a little bit of a delay, which is kind of what I've experienced with smartwatches at this price range. So there it is. This is the watch face. The brightness is really low because I was shooting a video before we started here. So I'm just going to bring up the brightness a bit. I think that might make it look better a little bit in the video. Here we go. Perhaps I'm not going to make it too bright because it's going to blow up the exposure here on the camera. So this button right here behaves as a back button and it turns the screen off at one point. And then you have this other button right here, which I'm not entirely sure what it does. I think this is the back in applications and this one is back in the menus. And then it also turns the screen on and off, because as you can see, if I'm, let's say here, music, and I press this button, it goes back. But this button also goes back. So your guess is as good as mine. It seems like you have two back buttons, whereas this one doesn't do anything once you're in the menu. This one goes, turns the screen off, and it turns it back on. This one doesn't do anything here. So I'm not sure how to describe the functioning of these two buttons. Suffice to say, you have enough inputs to get around. I guess that's what's important. So you can change the watch faces here. There's a pretty decent selection here of pre-installed watch faces, and you can add your own as well. This one's kind of nice. Look at this. Looks kind of fancy. A little less man-childy than what I'm rocking here on my Amazfit face, right? Looks a little bit more classy. It is a little bit bulky, as you would expect from a watch with more features like this. The Amazfit Pace in comparison is quite a bit thinner, but of course it doesn't run full Android. So you got the heart rate monitor here in the back, the charging port here like I mentioned earlier, the slot for a SIM card, and it runs Android 5.1. Now the interesting thing about a watch that runs full Android is that it allows you to do things that, while interesting, might be a little bit too over the top, but I figured some people might enjoy this. So I went ahead and, in keeping with the theme of my channel, I installed emulators on this thing. Rather, one emulator, a GBA emulator. Before we get to that, I'm going to quickly show you here what you get on the menu. So you got your contact screen, you get the phone to make phone calls, there's a Bluetooth call, health, messaging, music control, so when you connect this to your phone, you can control your music from the watch. Remote capture is basically a shutter button for the camera on the phone that you got connected to the watch. You got your settings, browser right there if you want to browse the web on a tiny round screen, music, gallery, clock. Oh, I accidentally click on the clock here. Clock, file manager, find my devices, kind of cool. You can, if you lost your phone between the couch cushions, you can press this thing and find your phone. Sound recorder, interesting. Weather, gotta have that. Calendar, voice search, Play Store. This is cool. You get access to the Play Store. So if you have an application on your phone that you think would really be interesting to have on a watch, there you go. What else? Connect phone, maps, switch platform. So if you want to use this between an iPhone or an Android device, that's where you go. And finally, my boy, the GBA emulator I mentioned earlier. So let's take a look at this. And look, this is kind of insane. So I got Super Mario World, the GBA remake, running on this thing. And it really is running. I posted a picture of this on Instagram, and a lot of people thought that I was fooling them with an image or maybe running some kind of video on this thing. No. I want to show you here. The controls are a little hard to hit at the size, but especially holding the phone, the watch at an angle. But there you go. It actually is running in real time. Now, of course, it's downright ridiculous to try to control the game like this because, of course, it wasn't meant to be played on a screen this small with touch controls. But it is playable. Of course, no one in their right mind would try to play a game like this. You can connect a Bluetooth controller to this thing and actually play your games like this. So if you're looking for a smartwatch that does a little bit more and you carry a Bluetooth controller around wherever you go, this might be an interesting option. Now, remember I mentioned that this is a GBA emulator, so this is not the only thing I got here. Let's see how I bring up. Okay, so to navigate this, I blew it up so that it occupies the entire screen. Of course, it makes it a little unfeasible to control the interface because these weren't meant for round screens. So I can, by holding this top button here, I bring up this contextual menu here, and I can go from full to, what does it say here? Small here at the top, you see? Full, I'm gonna bring it closer. It says full, then it says small. So this makes the screen go back to a square. So there you go, now it's running the way it was meant to be run. Right, so I can go here, let's see here, there's a menu button on the top here. This is really hard to operate when I'm holding the watch at an angle, but here we go. And then I can go to, let's see here, not sure if you can read it there. You can actually play online on this thing, that's kind of insane. I'm gonna close this and go back to the main menu. Now I'm looking at the menu for the internal memory. So if I scroll all the way down here, I have, look at this. I'm gonna load my save game because I'm impatient. Load. Look at that! Pokemon Fire Red on a goddamn watch. And if you want to, if you don't want those black borders, press and hold again here, tap full, go back, and look at this. It's Pokemon. Look at it. Look at it. I'm playing friggin' Pokemon on a watch. It's completely ridiculous, but I kinda love it. Okay, this is kind of crazy. It's kind of insane to see Pokemon running on a watch. This is, okay, so skip. Okay, shut up, buddy. You talk too much, okay, come on. Look at that. Did you ever think you'd see Pokemon running on a watch? I bet you didn't. So there you go. It's a smartwatch, an Android-enabled smartwatch that does all the things that you would expect from a smartwatch, and you can play Pokemon on it. Kind of crazy. If you're interested on the AllCall W1, I'm going to leave a link in the description. Again, this was provided to me by the good folks over at GearBest, and full disclosure, as I always mention in the description, if you buy the products that I do reviews here, I earn a small commission from that. All of the money goes back into the channel. This is how I keep the lights on here. I mean, not here. This is my girlfriend's house, but you know what I mean. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a thumbs up. If you're new here, consider subscribing, hit the notification bell, because YouTube sucks at letting you know that I put new content out. I'm not sure if these reviews are kind of what you're expecting to see. I know that on my main channel people love these products. They love these weird Chinese products that I feature here. I'm not sure if this is your cup of tea here, so I'm open to feedback. Let me know. Do you like this? Pokemon on a watch. Do you want to see more of this? Let me know. And that's all the time I have for today. I'm Izzy and I'm done.